Hi readers, I've got crooked here, sorry. Lee here, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. So glad to have you here. I'm here today to do an author spotlight. Now, usually when I did author spotlights, I would try to focus and do some research on the life of the author. Not so this time. Really, I'm going to tell you a personal story about my books and my struggles. And the author I'm going to talk about today is S.M. Stirling. He writes kind of time travel alternate history books. And the other day I was talking with some colleagues at work and we were talking about books, fiction and nonfiction, and it made me remember the Nantucket series that S.M. Stirling wrote that I read over 20 years ago. And I got home and went to look for that series, and I discovered something. Here's where the personal part comes in. I have thousands of books, and years ago my sister was at my house either here or at another place where I lived, and I made a comment that after my mom had shipped, when I moved to this state, my things up here, she had shipped me my books, and I made a comment to my sister that some of my books were missing, and she gave me a look. And I don't know if that look meant, how would you know? Or you have too many books already? Or maybe a combination of the two. But, to prove my point, Alicia, so I got home after my discussion with my colleagues, and I go upstairs to see what books I have in this collection. Now, the Nantucket Series by S.M. Stirling had 3 books, and the Emberverse, which is related to Nantucket, has more than what I had, but I had read books 1 through 6, had them, and I had purchased book 7, but had not read it yet. So of the 2 series, that should have been 10 books that I had. 3, folks. I had 3. And I'm going to have to rectify that, and I will talk about how I'm starting to do that a little bit later. So, yesterday, I had a real rough time of it. I started a book in the morning, I got the prologue and some pages in, and I was like, I'm not feeling this, it's not you, it's me, and I have to put it down. And then I went to the Barnes & Noble, and I got real excited, and I bought 3 books of a series. I bought the entire series. The entire series consisted of 3 books of this fantasy series. And I started reading it. I got like 60 pages in, and I was just, no, I can't. I already have talked about this in my weekend books, which posted yesterday. I'm recording this before that one. But it was a real disappointment, and I set it down. I'm like, nope, I can't even with this. So I did what I should have done in the first place. I went upstairs and I got Island in the Sea of Time and I started reading it. And this was late, like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I read for an hour and a half, and already better than the first 2 books that I had tried to read that day. So I'm really having a good time revisiting this. Let me tell you about it. During a perfect spring evening on Nantucket, a violent storm erupts and a dome of crawling, covered fire blankets the island. When howling winds subside and the night skies clear, the stars appear to have shifted. The mainland has become a wilderness of unbroken forest where tools of bronze and stone litter the beaches and primitive natives scatter in terror. A startling phenomenon has occurred. The island of Nantucket has been swept into the long-ago past. With its inhabitants adrift in the year 1250 BC, there is only one question to be answered. Can they survive? A provocative and endlessly inventive spin on the classic adventure story, Island in the Sea of Time takes you on a journey of wonder, discovery, and imagination. You know, if you've watched any of my videos, I don't remember well books when I've been separated from them for a long time. So this is true on this one. All I remember is the way it made me feel, and this one left me with a good feeling. Now, this is over 20 years later. There are some slightly cringe-worthy moments that very slight cringe. Maybe more like a You know, probably not the best face. But also, I fell right into this book. The whole world was gone when I started reading this. So I really loved it. I'm going to continue this series, but I am going to pepper it, break it up. I've learned that I can't read back to back to back. So after this one, I will read A Christmas in July and maybe another book, and then I will move on to the second book in the series, Against the Tide of Years. This it doesn't say on the back how long it's been, but it does say, in the years since the event, the Republic of Nantucket has done its best to recreate the better ideas of the modern age. But the evils of its time resurface in the person of William Walker, renegade Coast Guard officer who is busy building an empire for himself based on conquest by technology. When Walker reaches Greece and recruits several of the greater kinglets to his cause, the people of Nantucket have no choice. If they are to save the primitive world from being plunged into bloodshed on a 20th century scale, they must defeat Walker at his own game, war. Again, I remember nothing about this, but I look forward to reading it. Now, I did purchase through Amazon, and it came in yesterday, the third and final book in the Nantucket series. That's called On the Oceans of Eternity. Sadly, my copy came damaged. I don't know if you can see that, but it got spilled in something. It seems like oil or waxy, and it is still readable, so I will probably just keep it and maybe pick up a better copy later. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, this is the final book of the Nantucket series. 10 years ago, the 20th century and the Let me do a rewind. 10 years ago, the 20th century and the Bronze Age were tossed together by a mysterious event. In the decades since, the Republic of Nantucket has worked hard to create a new future for itself, using the technological know-how retained from modern times to explore and improve conditions for the inhabitants of the past. Some of these people have become allies. Some have turned instead to the renegade Coast Guard officer William Walker. And for 10 years, the two sides have tested each other, feinting and parrying, to decide who will be the ones to lead this brave new world into the future. Now, the final battle lines have been drawn, and only one side can emerge the victor. I have an idea who it's going to be, but it could surprise me. Anywho, I really look forward to revisiting this series and revisiting the Emberverse series. Sorry, I keep knocking the table. That's how I do. I'm not going to read the Emberverse, the blurb from this one, because this is number 7 of the Emberverse. And I have not read this one, and I have only a vague recollection of what leads up to this. The first book in the Emberverse series is Dies the Fire. My copy should come, I think, next Wednesday. I ordered that from Barnes & Noble, so it takes a little bit longer. And spoiler alert, just now I went and from Amazon ordered books 2 and 3. So I intend to read through this. When I get to book 3 on the Emberverse, I will decide whether I'm going to rebuy 4, 5, and 6 from that, and then hopefully finally get to number 7. This will probably take me the rest of the year. I'm not sure how I'm going to space it out. I'll have to just see where it takes us. Anywho, so in Dies the Fire, it is related to this in that the phenomenon took Nantucket and moved it somewhere else. The Emberverse talks about what happens to the rest of the world after Nantucket is gone. And what I remember and what I could read online was like it's similar to like an EMP event, whereas all technology is now rendered useless, no electricity, etc., etc. And I really look forward to reading that, so I've got to hurry up with these. I love that kind of apocalyptic fiction, also time travel, alternate history, love it. And I'm saying a lot, work on that. So that Should arrive Wednesday. I won't get to it on Wednesday. It will be a minute. These books are like 600 pages long, and I've got to break it up. Considering when I get to that, doing a post about Nantucket, and then when I have more of the books, talking about them as well. So this will be maybe the year of SM Stirling for me. A revisit. That is all for me and my author spotlight. Apologize if I've been kind of all over the place and stumbling over my words. I don't know, too many books. If you've read this series, I'd love to hear from you. If you have any good high fantasy or similar to this series or books recommendations, please let me know down in the comments. I am really looking for some good fantasy because I got some bad fantasy yesterday. That is all for me. Happy reading!